The season in Norway is just around the corner, so I thought it's about time that I show you my two favorite rods that I use for my main fishing, for halibut and for cod, with baitfish and with shads. The first rod I want to show you is the Jigstar Phantom, which is perfect if you want to have one rod that suits your halibut fishing and your cod fishing. I've been using it a lot with baitfish for halibut. It's 5.7 foot and it's classified up to 500 grams, so it's definitely a rod that you could choose if you only want to go for big halibuts fishing with baitfish or with shad. But it's also very good if you want to have one really good rod for the different types of fishing we do up there. It has a stiff backbone, which is good when you're lifting heavy fish, but it also has a very soft tip, which is why I say it's good for cod fishing, because it bends more and keeps the hook in place in their soft mouth. And also when you're fishing with the baitfish, you're using a circle hook, you don't want to have it too stiff and short of a rod, because this soft tip will give you a little bit more leverage when setting the circle hook into the corner of the mouth of the fish. So super fun rod that suits most of the fishing we do up there. The next rod I want to show you is the Twisted Sister. It's virtually the same rod as the Phantom, but the main difference is that this rod is a lot shorter. It's 5.1 foot, so it doesn't have the soft tip as the Phantom rod. You have three versions: light, medium light, and medium heavy. So the Twisted Sister is a big favorite of mine, fishing with big shads for halibut. It's not the most versatile rod, but a super fun rod to use for halibut and more of a solid halibut rod for me. It's only 5.1 foot long, so a very short rod and very aggressive to fight the fish on. But if you want to have one beast of a rod to handle your absolute biggest fish, then I would go for the Twisted Sister medium heavy as this one. And if I'm hooking up to my biggest halibut ever, this is the rod I want to have in my hand. And just to show you why I like it so much fishing with the shad, is because of the stiff tip in the rod. So when you're setting the hook, you're getting good contact with your fish right away. So more of a shad fishing rod for me, but if you have a personal preference that you love using short rods anyway, then definitely works good. But I feel like the hooking percentage on the circle hook is not as good on a rod like this, but a big favorite of mine that I'm using a lot. Going over to the medium light version of the Twisted Sister, it's quite a big difference on the power in the rod from the medium heavy, but this is more all around. This is like what I would go for if I want to have one Twisted Sister. So the blank is working very, very deep under pressure, and you're gonna feel it way down in the handle of the rod while fighting a big fish. This rod have been handling a lot of fish up to 150 kilos by this point, and you know, if you're hooking up to that monster, this is a very nice rod to have, because it's taking away a lot of pressure on your lower back while fighting. So if you have a long rod, the weight of the fish will come a little bit further away from you, and you're gonna lean a little bit more forward while fighting. And with a short rod like this, the weight of the fish is gonna come more straight up and down under you, and you're gonna have a lot more power lifting from your legs to bend these big ass halibuts up. So down to the light stick, still Twisted Sister, still 5.1 foot, but this one is just up to 300 grams. So it's a light rod that doesn't weigh anything, and a super fun rod to fight fish on, cods or halibuts, whatever. Super fun. It's still a lot of power in the rod, but it's just very light and works very deep while fighting your fish. We have still caught fish up to 100 kilos on this one, so you know it can handle the bigger fish, but it's just a versatile rod if you want to fish with a bait fish or a shad, doesn't really matter. Working very deep and a super fun rod to fish with. It has smaller guides, slimmer handle, slim blank, so you know that's the main difference between the other rods. Doesn't give you as much power when fighting a monster, but if you want to have a stick that is just super fun to fish with and you like and enjoy fishing with a short rod, I could really recommend this one also. So both these rods from Jigstar is solid, which means that you have material going straight through your rod instead of a normal rod that is hollow in the middle. So woven carbon fiber straight through gives you very high quality of a rod that can handle very heavy pressure and could resist high sticking a little bit better than a normal hollow rod could do. That probably would break in the same pressure and angle as one of these rods. So you see both on the Twisted Sister and the Phantom that we have wrapped guides going around the rod. This is called spiral wrapped guides or acid wrapped. There's a couple details about this that is very good. So when you are fighting a fish and the rod is bending, the wrapped guides will give you a more stable rod, and you just get less torque in the handle of your reel, and the rod gets more stable while fighting. Because what happens when you get the line on the underside of your rod is that the line is pulling down the rod instead of pushing it down, as on a normal rod when you have all the guides on top of the rod. Under pressure, you will always get a little bit of twist in the rod, which gives you more pressure to the side. So with the spiral wrap like this, you always get a centered weight or centered pull on the rod from the line, and that what gives you a more stable rod while fighting. The reason the acid wrap from Jigstar is so good is that if you look on the guides, you have a straight first one, and then the second one going a little bit to the right, and then they start going to the left. This is the reason that gives the Jigstar rods the perfect centered weight from the line when bending. You can find both the Phantom and the Twisted Sisters at our web shop, Sea Fishing Tackle. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you out on the sea.